Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm Barbara Melvin, President and CEO of the South Carolina Ports Authority, and have the honor of being the chair of the board for Trident United Way this year. We are thrilled to have you all here for what is our second annual State of Our Families event. Please continue to enjoy your lunch, and don't stop. The dessert table looks fabulous, by the way, as we begin our program. You know, I wanted to take just a second. I was chatting earlier, and I just delivered the state of the port last week, and we were sharing that nonprofits have not been able to deliver a state of our families and really showcase the work that our community does together. And this was not my idea, by the way, but it really brought it home to me after delivering the State of the Port last week, how important this really is for us to speak about what's happening in our community, both the challenges and the opportunities and the victories. So we should use this event to speak more about what we can all do together to be successful. So we are honored to have a panel of incredible community leaders here with us today, as well as Allie Moriarty from the Joseph P. Riley Center for Livable Communities at the College of Charleston, who's going to serve as our moderator. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here with us and sharing your knowledge and experience. We would like to take a moment to address the tragic impact of Hurricane Helene on our neighbors in South and North Carolina. United Ways are always there for their communities when disaster strikes, to meet immediate needs and provide long-term recovery support. Local United Ways in the affected communities have been on the ground since the immediate aftermath of the storm and are going to continue to support all of those communities. Trident United Way is proud to stand with our colleagues in those communities, and I am proud to stand with Trident United Way. I know so many of us have families and friends in the upstate and in western North Carolina. Our thoughts are with you and with your loved ones, and our recovery efforts will continue together. Today, Trident United Way is eager to make a major announcement about the refinement and realignment of our organization's mission. This has been a work in progress for our team for more than a year, and we are thrilled to share the results of this work with you and with our broader community here today. Trident United Way President and CEO DJ Hampton will share the big announcement, he's stealing my thunder, in just a few minutes. But first, I would like to thank our event sponsors whose generosity has helped make this event possible. Chernoff Newman, Cummins, Fifth Third Bank, Forvis Mazars, did I say that right? Home Telecom, the Intertech Group, Life Cycle Engineering, the Post and Courier, and Santee Cooper. Please join me in thanking them. And you know, the staff here would never put this in the script, but events like this do not happen without a tremendous staff who put all of the details together and have us all organized to make this successful. So please also join me in thanking our Trident United Way staff. We are very appreciative of our sponsors' support, and all of that enables us to amplify our mission's work in the community. I would also like to recognize and thank my fellow board members and the local elected leaders who are with us today. If you're a board member or elected leader, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for all you do in our community. Today, we are here to talk about the state of our families in the Tri-County area. We're going to hear from our community leaders on stage and learn a bit about what they know, what programs they have known to be successful, and what their thoughts are on what our community can do to increase our own impact and support for our friends and neighbors. Like all of you, I'm also here today to learn and I'm looking forward to learning more from our incredible community today. Database programming is of the utmost importance to our board of directors, and we have been so pleased and impressed with the data coming out of Trident United Way and United for Alice during the last year. We firmly believe that having this concrete information to inform our work in the community allows us to respond more effectively and efficiently and amplifies the impact of our work, our donors' funds, and our volunteers' time. Before we get to the panel, I'd like to share what we at Trident United Way know about our Tri-County families and what we've learned since we last gathered at this event a little more than a year ago, with the hope that this information can be a frame for our panel discussion today. Last year, we were introduced to the ALICE framework and shared the extensive and comprehensive data set that is being regularly updated and reported by our United Way colleagues and United for Alice. We've spent the last year utilizing this knowledge to create accountable, actionable, tangible changes in our communities, and we have been ecstatic to see so many of our nonprofit partners, elected officials, and community leaders joining us to build awareness about ALICE and utilize this data to offer our neighbors even greater support. If you have not yet heard about ALICE, please allow me to introduce you. In our Tri-County area, roughly 39% of households, which equates to almost 132,000 households, live on the verge of financial instability and struggle to make ends meet. These families work hard, please let me stress, work hard, yet struggle to cover the cost of their basic needs as the cost of living continues to outpace increases in earnings. You can see on this slide, we are referring to households that are under the ALICE threshold. But what is ALICE? ALICE is an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed, and represents the portion of our community who earn above the federal poverty level, yet not enough to affect the costs of basic necessities. These basics include things like rent, utilities, childcare, food, a cell phone plan. But the budget does not include no eating out, summer camps, holiday gifts, nothing left for savings, so basically one emergency away, no car payments or student loans, nothing beyond the basics and expenses that are required to simply survive. The numbers are clear. Financial insecurity touches everyone in our communities. Now, DJ will share with you more about what we've learned in the last year and how we intend to use this information to strategically target and expand our work in the Tri-County. DJ?
Barbara did miss thanking one individual that I would love us all to just take a moment and say thank you, and that is actually Barbara herself. I've had the privilege of watching how much Barbara cares not only about the employees of the port, but seen firsthand how much she cares about the neighbors in our Tri-County. And Barbara, I just wanted to say thank you for your transformational partnership. Last year, as Barbara mentioned, we shared that a family of four making $60,000 or less is just one medical bill, a car repair, an unexpected cost away from financial disaster. In May of this year, we received updated data from United for Alice that tells us the household income needed for families is actually much greater than this $60,000. In Charleston County, for example, a household that has 2 working adults and 2 young children and has childcare needs to earn at least $89,000 per year just to make ends meet. And in both Berkeley and Dorchester counties, that figure's a little less, but it's still over $85,000 a year for a family of 4 with a child in childcare. Again, this only covers basic needs, and you'll see those up here on the board. The budget does not take into account anything else. There are several reasons for this dramatic change in just 1 year's time. The loss of COVID-era child tax credits in 2022, which offered families a much-needed financial buffer against the financial maelstrom they were facing. The continued rise in the cost of housing. The complexities involved in securing affordable and accessible childcare. And also inflation's impact on the price of necessary items like food, clothing, hygiene items, and so much more. Having to decide between repairing your car, which you need to get to work, or paying a medical bill, or your water, or your electricity, or the roof over your head are all impossible choices, and yet so many of our neighbors are faced with these decisions every day. Just last month, United for Alice released yet another report with a focus on children. This report shows that the number of children living in financially insecure households in South Carolina continues to be systematically undercounted. Using state and federal data sources, United for Alice found that more than half, and I'm going to say this and it doesn't sound real, 53% of children in South Carolina live in a household that are experiencing financial hardship. This figure includes 19% of families that live below the federal poverty line, which most of us think about when we think of financial struggle, but also includes 34% of the population who are above the federal poverty line, meaning they don't qualify for a lot of the services that families need to get by. This amounts to 590,263 children across the state and ranks South Carolina 38th among all states in DC. We got some work to do. The report shows rates of financial hardships were higher for families with infants and toddlers, 60%, and preschool-age children at 58%, than for school-age children, which is still a staggering 51%. Additionally, the share of children below the Alice threshold was higher for some groups. 75% of Black children, 72% of American Indian and Alaska Native children, 66% of Hispanic children are living in households experiencing financial hardship. The report also shows that having working adults in the household no longer guarantees financial stability. 35% of the households with 2 adults in the labor force were still below the Alice threshold. I'll say that again. A third of the households with 2 adults in the labor force were still below the Alice threshold. And nearly all of these children, 94%, live in a household with at least 1 working adult. So what does this all mean? So what? As everyone in this room is surely well aware, children and families living below the Alice threshold are more likely to lack stable housing, quality childcare, early education, private health insurance, and high-speed internet at home. Reliable food access is also a regular concern. I want to be clear, we all know these are not just statistics. These are real people, real lives with real stories to tell. These are parents who are working multiple jobs just to put food on their table. These are children who are skipping meals because there just simply isn't enough to go around. These are seniors who are forced to choose between paying their medication or paying their utility bill. And these are our neighbors and our colleagues. Many of us in this room are or have been Alice at some point in our lives. And at Trident United Way, we believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to thrive. That's why we're working hard to support Alice families in our community. As mentioned earlier, after a year of research, discussion, and consideration, Trident United Way's board and staff has voted to shift our mission work away from the 3-pronged approach that has served us so well for the last 2 decades. And we're going to be moving over to a single focus to meet the needs of today. And that focus is financial stability for Tri-County families. This comes at a really critical time for us, as we are receiving this data that over half the children in our state are growing up in households facing financial instability. Focusing on the wellness of our local families is both a commitment to the present and the future of our community. This refined focus marks a significant and transformative chapter in United Way's journey. Over the course of our 80-year history, we have refined our focus roughly every 20 to 30 years, and this again is one of those times. We are now reaching another moment where we must look to our community and reevaluate the work based on the current needs of our neighbors and our capacity to best serve and support one another. We are confident that with the continued dedication and passion of our staff, board, nonprofit partners, and the greater community, we will continue to make a profound impact on the lives of Alice as well as our colleagues, neighbors, and friends. In the coming months, we will continue this work by finalizing a bold community goal with the input and support of our nonprofit partners. We're not just going to create it. This is going to be pulled together by a group of caring nonprofits who want to impact this issue. The goal will not be just for Trident United Way, but that means it'll be by the community, for the community, and with collaboration of our community. This bold goal and subsequent plan will include the specific metrics that we together aim to achieve as a community, as well as a blueprint for how our community will commit to getting there. As we continue to work to develop these plans, please join us in embracing this new direction with the same spirit of enthusiasm and collaboration that our internal team has brought to this process over the last year. And we know that the challenges facing Alice families are complex, and there is no single solution to solve everything. But we also know we cannot afford to ignore this issue any longer. We must come together as a community to support Alice families in every way that we all can. We must recognize their hardships, which are so often invisible to us. We must commit ourselves to building a community where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. So I urge you to join us in this important work. Donate your time, your resources, your voice to help us support Alice families. And finally, as we move into a new area with this more refined mission focus, you'll also see an updated logo and a new tagline. What really gets to the heart of our work, our mission, and also our why. And you're going to see a lot of this. We're going to be saying a lot of united is the way forward. United is the way. As we evolve our mission with our community, we're also looking forward to evolving the conversations we as a community have. Together, we will all impact the communities in ways we cannot yet imagine because united is the way. Now, it is my honor to introduce our moderator, Allie Moriarty. Allie is the Assistant Director of the Joseph P. Riley Jr. Center for Livable Communities at the College of Charleston and does incredible work. The Riley Center mission is to leverage the intellectual resources of the college to support the economic and cultural vibrancy of the city of Charleston and other communities throughout South Carolina, the United States, and around the world. Allie has spent more than a decade in public service, working in a variety of roles, including Director of Policy and Communications at the American Civil Liberties Union of South Carolina, Director of College of Charleston's Community Assistance Program, Program Officer at Coastal Community Foundation, and Awareness and Advocacy Manager at the Center of Women. It is an impressive resume. Allie has also taught in the College of Charleston's Master of Public Administration program and is currently an adjunct professor. Originally from West Columbia, South Carolina, Allie received her undergraduate degree in psychology from Presbyterian College and a Master's of Public Administration from the College of Charleston, where she focused on nonprofit management. She has served as the board chair for Charleston Legal Access, where I got to first meet her and the incredible work they were doing, and as a member of the Community Advisory Board of College of Charleston's Women and Gender Studies program. Allie, it is such a privilege for you to be here with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your time of expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ. That was a very kind introduction. It is a true honor and privilege to be here among all of you today and to be sharing space and this experience together. So thank you all for having me. I would love to invite our esteemed panelists to join me on the stage, please. Thank you all for joining us today for this important discussion on children growing up in households experiencing financial hardship. Financial security and insecurity is a profound issue that impacts millions of children worldwide, and as we just heard DJ say, more than 590,000 children here at home in South Carolina. That is a staggering and scary number. This impacts their health, their education, their emotional well-being, and their overall development. Most of you are aware that this is not just a matter of economics that is isolated to the families experiencing financial insecurity. Instead, this is a complex social issue with far-reaching consequences for our communities and our society as a whole. This is an issue that impacts every single one of us in this room and every single one of us in this community. Today's panel brings together a diverse group of experts, advocates, and voices from the front lines of this struggle to explore the multifaceted challenges that children experiencing financial hardship face. We'll be examining together the root causes, the systemic barriers, and some of the strategies that are being implemented to support children and their families in our community. And our goal today is to foster a deeper, collective, shared understanding of how financial instability shapes childhood, and also to discuss what we can collectively do as a community to create pathways toward a brighter future for these children. By shedding light on the daily realities our children experience and looking at successful interventions, we hope to inspire action, collaboration, and lasting change. We are so fortunate today to have with us a group of esteemed panelists, many of whom are people I've looked up to for years, so I'm really very excited to be moderating this discussion today. And each of them brings such unique insights from their respective fields. So I'll start by telling you who our panelists are and what they do, and then we'll jump right into the questions. So first up, we have Gianna Shaw Johnson, who is the director of the Department of Housing and Community Development for the City of Charleston. If you've done any work in housing and any work with the city, you know Gianna. She's been around in this space for long enough to be a foremost expert, so we're super excited that you're here today. We have Dr. Reshma Khan, who is an OBGYN and founder of the Shifa Clinic, which is booming. We were just talking about this, folks coming from all over the state to seek their excellent services. We have Bernie Mazik, who is the president and CEO of the South Carolina Association of Community and Economic Development. And Bernie knows South Carolina backwards and forwards, so is going to be giving us a lot of insight on policies and data and all kinds of exciting things. And then finally, we have Principal Jonathan Weidman, who is with A.C. Cochran Elementary School, which is right here in North Charleston. And Principal Weidman and I had an opportunity earlier to speak about some of the issues that the children and families their school serves are facing, and they are truly stunning. So thank you all for being here. My first question is for you, Bernie. What are the key drivers of childhood poverty here in our community, and how have they evolved in recent years?
Well, thank you, Ali, and thank you, Trident United Way, for this awesome convening. It's very important, and we look forward to seeing this forum continue. Oftentimes, we think poverty is limited to financial resources, limited to access to steady income and adequate compensation. Oftentimes, that's where we think it starts and ends. But some of the key drivers, there are many, but some of the key drivers to poverty, especially for children and families, also include the structured or physical environment. That means access to affordable housing, access to healthcare facilities, access to the built environment that enables a family to easily access the resources that they need to be a thriving family. Education is also a key driver to financial security, because without at least the basic education, but also the work skills for that family to access the income, access the right kind of jobs. And we know that our workforce is changing. We know that the demands on our workforce is changing. And unless we're able to have the right kind of environment and the right kind of systems that all families have access to and all parents have access to the kind of employment that's going to provide that adequate income, we have challenges there as well. Something that's emerging that is frightening is access to the food systems. Healthy food access is one of the drivers that I see. We have what we call food deserts throughout South Carolina. Now, I'm old enough to have experienced growing up on a farm. You couldn't tell the way I look, but yes. I was in the field from time to time, picking peanuts and cutting okra. My father had a garden. But for us, access to food was just going next door to the garden and getting what we wanted. That's not the case anymore. We saw during Hugo, you see how old I am? We saw during COVID how supply chains interrupted our food systems. And as a result, everyone did not have access to healthy food, and that is still a challenge today. So access to healthy food, and then health care. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to live. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to go to work. If you're not healthy, a family is going to have those costs associated with being a healthy family. So like I said, there are many others, but I'm just going to pause there on those are some, in my work, those are some of the key drivers to poverty, and especially childhood poverty, that really is going to determine what kind of society we have going forward. If we don't have children that are living and growing up in a financially secure home and community, we can kiss our future goodbye. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
For now.
We will be coming back to you. Principal Weidman, let's talk about generational poverty. This is an issue that has impacted our community and many others for centuries. Can you describe the primary drivers of generational poverty and talk a little bit about the significant barriers to breaking the generational poverty cycle?
Good morning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on something I'm very passionate about. Being a student and a product of poverty, one of the things that I considered was the primary driver was access. We have these things in education called gatekeepers to success. And it all starts at the elementary level. I worked in K-12, I worked in the prison, I worked in adult education, but it starts at the elementary level. And for me, I grew up in poverty, but my third grade teacher is what made a difference in my life and provided me to have opportunities that a lot of my other friends and family members didn't have. Of course, in second grade, students are tested for gifted or talent development. And of course, you know, I have my feelings about that test. Some places, students, the test is taught to the students in kindergarten, so there's access to the test. And other places, students don't, the first time it's taking the test is in second grade, so they're not familiar with the analogies and the demand of that test. But had they been exposed earlier, they probably could have performed better. But that test determines what classes students take in middle school. That classes determines, of course, when you go to high school, the pathways of gifted and talented, the honor classes, the AP classes, and of course that determines class placement, scholarship opportunities, and where students go to school, unfortunately. And I think we have to change the system and think about how do we break down these gateways or gatekeepers to success for students. Again, I had a third grade teacher. She was adamant. She was like, you don't belong in my classroom, you belong next door. And next door to her classroom was the gifted and talented class. And she was adamant. She went to my principal, she went to my parent, like, we need to test again. And a lot of times we don't have those advocates for our students, because most of the time once they take their test in second grade, nobody talks about it again. For the students that weren't, you know, that didn't make the score to be considered gifted. I think talent is distributed equally across, but opportunities and access is not. And I think we have to make sure, I have a lot of talented students at my school, and we have to make sure we focus on those three levels of which is cognitive, and making sure you have the nonverbal, and grow talent development in those areas for students. It's a lot of students, you get them something spatial, they can do amazing and mighty things, but we got to expose our kids earlier. At my current school, we had a gifted and talented teacher that only worked at the school for 2 days. I'm like, how are we going to grow gifted and talented if the teacher is only here 2 days a week to service the kids by law for gifted and talented? So with extra funding, and I looked at funding, I'm all about funding and allocation of resources. I'm like, we need a full-time gifted and talented teacher for my students if we're going to change that, and if we're going to actually do talent development. And this past school year, we were able to get a full-time gifted and talented, and she's been amazing. Like, she's been working with our first graders, our kindergartners. You know, she's been doing a lot of work to help with talent development, because I think that's an area that we can go in, because again, talent is distributed evenly. I think access and opportunities are not. So we got to make sure our kids, especially those kids in poverty, have every opportunity that's for them to be successful as possible. A lot of times we determine things by zip code, and I constantly preach to my teacher, not under my watch. Our students deserve everything possible. So I'm just making sure we have that access. And one of the biggest things to do that, the second part of that question was, what are the most significant barriers to breaking those cycles? I think just educating people, making sure that people are actually educated, parents are actually educated, community members. I always try to do a state of AC Cochran for my family, because school report cards go out and people judge schools based on school report cards. They won't move to certain areas because of school report cards, but school report cards can be great one day and down tomorrow. And of course, when I took over my school, we had 16.1% of students 3 through 5 reading on grade level. Now we're pushing towards 30%. But the school report card, you just see a number grade and you're like, oh, they're below average, but you got to dig a little deeper. So I try to educate families, educate the community. Again, breaking down these barriers that are in place by society, politics, and all those different things, because what I tell my staff is we have to major in the kids. Our kids cannot be the casualties of adult affairs and conflict. So the focus has to be on the students and doing what's right by them if we want to see a change.
We have to major in the kids. I love that. And also not on my watch is another really good takeaway. If anyone's looking for Instagram captions today, those are brilliant. So we heard Principal Weidman just talk about the even distribution of potential and talent and the disparate impacts of, that different students experience based upon their access. And we heard DJ a little bit earlier talking about how 53% of children in our state are experiencing financial hardship, but when you disaggregate that by race, the numbers become much more stark, with 75% of Black children experiencing financial hardship, more than 60% of Latinx children. And so we're gonna ask Gianna to dive a little bit more into this with us. Gianna, how does financial hardship in childhood disproportionately impact communities of color and other communities that have been historically marginalized?
Thank you, Allie, for the question, and I want to also commend DJ and his team for this amazing luncheon today to bring forward some very key areas that are pertinent to our community, pertinent from the standpoint of us looking at them in different ways and addressing them in different ways. And also to my esteemed colleagues on the table here, thank you for all that you do in our communities, in the areas that you work in. So before I answer the question specifically, and I don't know why this is buzzing like this, but in the United States of America, as many of us know, there are and have been systemic barriers that cause greater hardships for people of color. Consequently, the hardships that affect the parents affect the children, correct? I learned for the first time last week that the Federal Housing Administration back in the late 50s, early 60s, literally had an ordinance, a covenant, a regulation written in their guidelines that told developers that as they built communities and were building housing in those communities, they could not sell those houses to people of color. So the issues and the challenges that many of our communities face today, they are not those challenges that just happened last night or yesterday. They are systemic. They have existed for some time. And so I appreciate the boldness that Trident United Way is coming forward with and the agencies that these individuals represent to change what has been a systemic challenge. And so when we think about the ways that financial hardship affects children in minorities community disproportionately, it affects them in many areas. Education, housing, Bernie mentioned some of these things already, healthcare to include mental health, and then naturally access to wealth. And so it is vitally important as we make changes, we give specific attention to these areas of concern. It is argued that poverty and economic hardship diminish the capacity for supportive, consistent, and involved parenting. So if the parent's not at home because the parent's working 2 or 3 jobs, it's hard to sit down after you've come home after that second job and give your child the kind of attention and support they need to be successful in homework. So the poverty and hardship disproportionately affects us across the board in all of those areas, simply because all of those areas are intertwined and contribute to the success of a student. The last portion, I think, or the second portion of that question says, do we find that there are disparities that are specific to our Tri-County community? I think hardship and poverties across the nation are about the same. You could close your eyes and be in Charlotte, you could close your eyes and be in Chicago, and you will find that there are challenges that are very similar wherever you are if there is the issue of poverty and financial hardships. I would say in our communities in particular, we've learned that the issue of resilience in the environment is adversely affecting our children more and more each day. In what way, you would ask? Many persons that live in certain types of housing, as you all know, all housing are not in good shape. They have water infiltration. We've learned that when you have water infiltration, then mold comes. There are many of our children that live in houses, and I don't want to gross you out, I think everybody's eating, that have cockroaches, bugs. Yes, the very gross palmetto bugs. But all of those, and Dr. Khan will probably touch on it, adversely affects a child's health. It adversely affects how that child views themselves and how that child carry out him or herself in the community. So I would say if there's anything specific to our Tri-County area, it is how we manage and address the issue of water. And lastly, I would also add, and I checked with our principal over here because I had it written in my notes but wanted to be sure, where we land on the education spectrum in South Carolina out of the 50 states is very low. And so I admire our principal that's with us today that won't take no for an answer, because to Bernie's point, we're raising up our future leaders. We're raising up the folks that will take care of us. So if we are not teaching them, how will they know what to do? Thank you.
Like Gianna mentioned, many people consider financial hardship to be a public health issue, and there are many aspects to that. So we're going to ask Dr. Khan to talk to us a little bit more about the long-term physical and mental health implications for children growing up in households experiencing financial hardship, and then also, what can we in our community do to intervene?
Thank you, Trident United Way, for hosting such an amazing event where we get to learn together, share our information, and hopefully we'll come up with some ideas on how to move forward together. So the question was, what are the physical and mental implications? So number one, I would say, it is not a no-brainer that the stress that it places on the children, on the family. What does stress do? Stress increases your cortisol level. With increasing cortisol, that can lead to conditions like hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease in later life. Secondly, nutritional deficiencies. Malnutrition or reliance on unhealthy foods can lead to risk of obesity, diabetes, and developmental delays as well. Third, limited access to health care. This can not only prevent acute conditions, but also prevents them to get the increasing vaccinations and undiagnosed chronic conditions. They are not aware that they have diabetes or they have high blood pressure because they are not able to get the preventative screenings done. Environmental factors, which Gianna touched on, poor housing conditions, including the things that she mentioned, but also lead exposure in unsafe neighborhoods. This can cause respiratory health problems, which increases more toxins and later physical health problems. Apart from the physical, what about the mental health implications? There are a lot. Again, emotional exhaustion, behavioral issues, aggression, hyperactivity, attention deficit disorders, academic challenges, because the kids are emotionally exhausted, underfed, resourced, Lack of resources, including tutoring, internet access, and emotional exhaustion, that leads to higher dropout rates as well. Finally, social isolation. All this can lead to social isolation and the feeling of inadequacy and lack of social connections, which in turn can develop later on into depression and anxiety as they grow older. What are the things that we as a community can do together? I think most important is the food and nutrition support programs, various food pantries, meal programs, school meal programs, nutrition assistance to families. This is very important, healthy and nutritious food that the children could receive. Accessible health care, which is free clinics, mobile health cares. In addition to that, there is also the Child in CHIP, which is Children's Health Insurance Program, Medicaid outreach program. Establishing mental health services at school and counseling services. I think that's a lack in our Tri-County area about mental health services. Me as a free clinic, I've been trying to develop some form of mental health programs, but have been very restricted for the last 12 years. Very difficult to establish that program. Educational support, offering tutoring programs. Yesterday, I was at one of our other nonprofits called Beyond the Walls, and they do an amazing job with tutoring of the students and getting them prepared for schools. Having parental support programs is equally important as for the child as well, like having the parents going through job training, financial literacy programs, childcare services, that can elevate some of the stresses that are associated with financial instability. Housing and financial assistance, advocacy on these matters are essential. And finally, I would say community support, building community social support through faith-based organizations, community centers, and local nonprofits. They can all come together to provide resources and peer support groups for the families experiencing financial hardships.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a perfect segue because we're going to start talking about interventions and other strategies that we can start putting in place and that we can work on together as a community. We have quite a few questions left, so we'll keep our answers on the second half a little bit more brief so that we can get through them all because we do want to hear from each of you.
That was directed at me.
Gotta put that Southern finesse on it, Okay, so first up, Principal Weidman, let's talk about resources. So in your experience, what resources do schools require to support these children who are experiencing financial instability, not just academically, but also in their emotional and social development?
To answer that question, I'm going to start off with a poem entitled "Cause I Ain't Got a Pencil." I woke myself up because I ain't got an alarm clock. Dug in the dirty clothes basket because I ain't nobody washed my uniform. Brushed my hair and teeth in the dark because the lights aren't on. Even got my baby sister ready because my mama wasn't home. Got us both to school on time to eat a good breakfast. Then when I got to class, the teacher fussed because I ain't got a pencil. Of course, that's a journey of a student in a Title I schools. Most of the time, the journey that is similar to a lot of students that come to school. Of course, you see the need for resources such as an alarm clock to wake up on time, especially if they're there by themselves. So they need something to wake up, which that leads to truancy and chronic absenteeism. So if they're not at school or they oversleep, they're missing valuable instruction. Then, of course, they dug in the dirty clothes basket. At our school, of course, with families, they know they can come and wash clothes. We have free laundry detergent. They come after school, so it's no embarrassment. We can wash clothes. It was a mobile facility that our parent advocate partner in the community that would post up on Saturdays so parents could go to the mobile laundry clinic to wash clothes. Because, again, kids don't want to come to school dirty, or some of our students won't even come to school if they don't have a haircut or their hair isn't done. So partnering with the barber shops and the salons definitely is something great for our school, and we do have some of those partnerships. Of course, in this poem, it talked about brushing their hair and teeth, making sure that they have dental clinics. With our nurse, we've had dental clinics as well as vision clinics for our students. A lot of our students sit in class and they're squinting. They can't see, so that impedes instruction as well. And then, of course, not having a mom at home, of course, we have a partnership with Real Champions, Inc. that provide mentorship for our students. And what I love about Real Champion Inc. is they follow kids when they get their partnership from kindergarten. They follow them all the way to 12th grade. So they grow up with the mentor. That mentor comes to the school, takes them out. So that's super important. But outside of that, of course, the social and emotional aspects. Of course, at our school, we teach second steps. We teach students how to self-manage their emotions and self-regulate. Also, we have a partnership with Department of Mental Health, where we have a clinician on site, so that students can get the mental health services that they need, as well as family. We do family care as well, which I think is majorly important. Because some of our students with the ACEs, or adverse childhood conditions, that score is super high. And one of the things that's heartbreaking to me as a principal, the homeless population, and trying to get students to good housing, like some of them live in cars and hotels. And like when a parent told me that they had to sleep on the floor because they had a shootout in the parking lot at a hotel, like I can't imagine it as a principal. And even as a person that grew up in poverty, I never slept on the floor, but just that fear. So I think addressing those things with the resources and programs that we have at our school has been great for our students. But I always say we have to Maslow before we bloom. We have to make sure those basic needs are met. So we do have a lot of programs, and I think it's just awareness that those parents know about those programs.
Thank you. So a little bit earlier, Gianna talked about the practice of redlining and how a lot of policies in our country have laid the groundwork for the outcomes that we're seeing today. And I'd love to sort of flip the script a little bit on that, looking toward the future, and ask Bernie, what government policies or social programs have you found to be most effective in reducing childhood poverty, and how do you think they can be scaled or adapted for our region?
Before I do that, I want to take a quick poll. How many in the room have taken or participated in a poverty simulator? Oh, this is awesome. I'm glad to see that. Having gone through that, you know what families in poverty or income insecurity, whatever you want to say, what they have to go through, even with programs in place, what they have to do to maneuver the myriad of resources and how to get to them. So if we put ourselves in their shoes, we see that it's expensive to be poor. It is hard to be poor. It takes all kinds of skills of problem solving and how you go about using the little bit you have to make it go so far. So I just thought that was so revealing, and thank you all for risking yourselves to go through that. There's something as I was preparing for this that I was able to experience with some data that data shows that some of the data that I've reviewed shows that with all the government programs we have, and oftentimes these programs are not thought of well. Sometimes there's talk about abuse and neglect and why are we investing in these programs. But the reports that I've read showed that had it not been for a number of these interventions, these programs, childhood poverty rates would nearly double what they are now. So just think, we have a myriad of programs. We sometimes complain about them, but had those programs not been in place, poverty would have doubled the rate that is now. For us here in South Carolina, it go from 19% to 33%. But some of the programs I've found to be most effective, first let's start with the child tax credit. The most powerful tool that we had, and I said had, which it was enacted, of course, through the American Rescue Plan in 2021, and it brought childhood poverty down to the lowest, I think in history, 5.2%, during the time it was enacted. Of course, we could not get that extended. It expired, and so childhood poverty rates went up. SNAP benefits are critical to families being able to access food and other resources. housing subsidies, and Gianna can talk about that all day long. You've got Section 8 vouchers. You have the home, which enables a family to find and afford housing. But you also have the home program that helps with the development of that inventory. Across the board, and Barbara and I, we talk about this with the Federal Reserve, across the board, we're in a crunch in housing stock. Yes, there's rapid development happening, but how much of that housing is affordable? On average, $300,000, $400,000 when household incomes cannot even go anywhere near that. So housing subsidies, especially now, are so critical, and John, I know you're going to dig into that even more. The Earned Income Tax Credit is another very helpful federal program that enables poor families, working families, and by the way, this was enacted during the Nixon administration, so a lot of these are bipartisan policies. But that tax credit plays a major role in helping the poor families to be able to sustain life and be able to live a meaningful and productive life. And then the final one I'm going to share, which is not a national program, but we had an experience with a program called the Individual Development Account Program, IDA program. That was a program enacted and funded federally through the a federal statute that enabled families or individuals with their income to be able to, my mic is going in and out, be able to put aside a part of their income so that they can secure an accruing asset. And the program recognized 3 assets: buying their first house, starting a business, or going back to school. If they participated in a local group that was managing that program and participated in financial education, financial literacy, and so forth, and chose one of those assets, their savings was matched 3-to-1 up to the first $1,000 that they saved. So there's several benefits of that. First, it encouraged the family, the parents to save, and it actually was a program developed from a paper written by a professor at Washington University, Michael Shawan, and it showed that the poor will save and leave poverty. Now, that program ended in 2016, and I'll talk a little bit about later on, but these are, I'm lifting up just a few of the programs that play a critical role, policies and programs that play a critical role in helping poor families transition from poverty to prosperity.
Thank you, Bernie. Dr. Khan, in what ways can technology and digital tools be leveraged to improve access to resources like healthcare, education, and nutrition for children in poverty?
Yes, I think first we need to address the digital divide that exists. So, having low-cost internet programs, for example, Connect Home USA is a good program that bridges this gap in internet access. Second, providing the devices, having the access to device to the kids is another important part before we can reach out to those digital platforms. And there are, for example, many initiatives, as one of the initiatives is 1 laptop per child, and that's one of another initiative that they give laptops to the child, regardless of the income and access to digital learning tool. We could also use data-driven solutions, which is predictive analytics at-risk students at school to see data-driven results on who are the students at risk based on their attendance, grades, and behavioral data, allowing us to intervene and support them earlier. Then there is also telehealth. Telehealth is a very important platform for using as a digital access. Food assistance apps like Fresh EBT, and that helps with the tracking of the balance and also the SNAP benefits. Then there is meal planning apps, which is like MyFitnessPal, and also Yummly, which is an app that helps with budget-friendly meal ideas and help families make the most out of the limited food resources. online education platforms that are like the Khan Academy as well as the Google Classrooms. These are very accessible, free resources that can help kids to attain academic success as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have time for 2 more questions. So I'm going to go to Gianna. Gianna, how can we engage the private and nonprofit sectors in collaborative efforts to address childhood poverty?
Thank you, Allie. Well, we can't do it alone, correct? We need each other in order to address this challenge that is before us. So I would say a few things. Educate our partners on what the issues are. Make sure they're aware of the stats. Ensure collaborative partners understand the challenge and the long-term impact to the community for inaction, meaning we have to do something to make changes. I would suggest engaging them in providing, where appropriate, livable wage employment and entrepreneurial opportunities that expose the children and parents to higher income wages or job opportunities. And then my husband would get me if I didn't say this, mentorship. It is so important. It is a word that we've used forever, and people think, oh, it's played out. Really, it isn't. Mentors are so important because you show children that there is something different than what they might be seeing every day. So those are the 4 things. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for our closing question, I would love to ask each of you in 1 sentence to please tell us what is one thing that you would suggest to those of us who are here in this room today and to our community that we can do to support families who are Alice.
Are we going to let Bernie go last?
We'll start with Principal Weidman and go down.
I would say definitely use your leadership position to inform, educate, and advance the mission of your organization, because there's a lot of people that don't know about things and programs that we do have. So awareness is key.
I would say, I don't know. I would say volunteer your time, advocate for affordable resources, and also educate families that are in need. What are the available resources in the community to help them improve their well-being?
I would ask this room to demand from our legislative bodies additional funding to create safe, decent, and affordable housing. I would also ask us to cause our legislators to make housing a right and not an option. Thank you.
And I must stand. No, I'm just preacher in me. Since most of mine were also shared by my esteemed panel, the final I would say is connect with the families. Get to know the communities that oftentimes that was not one sentence. Oftentimes we may not know who's there. Their families just like yours and mine. Get to know them, connect with them, help them to realize that they are an equal part of our community and a valued part of our society, and together we're going to advance our state, our community, our region, and our nation. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, panel, thank you all so much for this powerful discussion. I knew you were all legends and giants in your public service, but I didn't realize how brilliant you are at being panelists. So this was very enjoyable to moderate and to hear all of your feedback. There are a lot of challenges ahead, clearly, but also a lot of hope and positive, productive community work being done that we should all celebrate. Please join me in thanking our panel once again. Now it is my privilege to reintroduce Barbara Melvin and DJ Hampton, who have the honor of presenting our awards today.
Thank you, Allie, and all the panelists. I think my wish for all of us today given the motivational speech that we just heard from each of our experts, is to move beyond shock and be a positive catalyst for change in this community. Shock is overdone now. We've seen the data, and now it's time to have a positive impact to lower that data. I get to do the awards. Yay. Okay, our first award today is the Changemaker Community Advocacy Award. This award celebrates passionate leaders and organizations focusing on the most critical needs in the Tri-County community. These leaders have been actively involved in advocating for the expansion and promotion of benefits to ALICE populations, among other civic and social engagement. I am pleased, privileged, ecstatic to present the Changemaker Community Advocacy Award to Shawan Gillians. Shawan? Let me share a little bit about this amazing woman. Shawan is the Director of Sustainability and Associate General Counsel at Santee Cooper. In this role, she works to strategically enhance the utility's efforts in sustainability. She previously held several other positions with Santee Cooper, including Associate General Counsel, Treasurer, Director of Legal Services, and Corporate Secretary. Shawan is a longtime community advocate and volunteer, having served on the board of directors at Trident United Way, as well as other boards, including Coastal Community Foundation, Coastal Crisis Chaplaincy, Wofford College, Children's Trust of South Carolina, and Roper St. Francis Hospital. She also serves on the nominating committee for the South Carolina Bar Association and the South Carolina Supreme Court Commission on Continuing Legal Education. Shawan's prolific support of our community conveys her deep dedication to this region and to her fellow neighbors. Her deep knowledge of this community is unmatched, and only can we say her passion exceeds her dedication. We are honored to work with her, and especially honored to have her with us today. Congratulations, Shawan.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Trident United Way, for the privilege of this honor. Jeremiah says that we should seek the welfare of the community where we are planted. And I am not only a part of this community, I am a product of this community, for which I am incredibly grateful. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and thank my employer, Santee Cooper, who never ceases to support not only me, but every employee as we seek to be good citizens in the communities where we are planted. And last but foremost, I have to thank my mom and dad. You guys have been instrumental in showing me how to be a servant of this community. And if I ever do anything great in my life, it'll be because you taught me to do it. Thank you.
Our next award is Changemaker Volunteer of the Year Award. This award is given to an individual who best exemplifies the spirit of volunteerism. This individual has made significant contributions to Trident United Way and the Tri-County community, and has been a leader in not only taking action for our neighbors, but also sharing the spirit of volunteerism with others. I'm happy to present this year's Changemaker Volunteer of the Year Award to Michael Samuel. Michael Samuel, aka Mike Sam, is a commercial banking manager at South State Bank and the CEO and founder of Mike Sam Fitness, where he does personal training and CrossFit coaching. And I can attest to this, by the way, because I don't know if you remember this or not, but we used to work out together at 5:30 in the morning doing kickboxing, so I can actually attest to this. We won't talk about who we imagined when we were punching, but outside of the two professional roles, Michael is committed to serving his community through various volunteer positions. Michael is the 2023-2024 Campaign Cabinet Chair and is on the Executive Committee of the Trident United Way Board of Directors. He is also a leading voice in Trident United Way's Young Leaders United group, organizing volunteer and professional development opportunities. Michael is a board member at Charleston Habitat for Humanity, where he chairs the Advocacy Committee. Additionally, Michael serves on the Finance Committee for the Coastal Community Foundation and is a Lululemon ambassador. Congratulations, Mike. Your impact in this community is incredibly admirable, and we are so pleased to honor you here today.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I am truly honored and humbled to receive the Changemaker Volunteer of the Year award. Uplifting my community is not just something that I do, it's a pillar of who I am as a man. It's woven into my purpose, my values, and the way I try to walk through life each and every day. To recognize something that brings me so much joy and fulfillment is deeply meaningful. First and foremost, I want to give all glory and thanks to God, whose grace has guided me along this journey. I also want to thank my mother, whose unwavering love, strength, and example inspire me every day to serve others and to lead with compassion. To all of my loved ones, you make me a better person just by being in my life. Thank you for your constant encouragement, patience, and belief in me. I'd also like to express my gratitude to my leadership team at South State Bank. Your support has made it possible for me to dedicate the time that our cause is close to my heart. And of course, I want to thank the entire United Way staff and all of those working tirelessly across Tri-County. It is an honor to be part of a community of people who are committed to uplifting others. This award isn't just a celebration of the work I've done, it's a call to continue. Together, we can create more meaningful change and build a future where everyone has an opportunity to thrive. Thank you again for this incredible honor. Let's keep pushing forward. There is still so much work we can do. Thank you.
The next award is Changemaker Power of Partnership Award. This award is given to a business that has exhibited a commitment to Trident United Way and the Tri-County through their leadership, collaboration, and assistance in supporting the community and furthering the mission of Trident United Way and in an invaluable and impactful way. This year's Power of Partnership Award goes to Tanger, Charleston. Tanger's small but mighty team have been dedicated to Days of Caring volunteering for many years, volunteering on a range of different projects, including renovations for the Florence Crittenden and many more. They are intentional, thoughtful community advocates, hosting their annual Hometown Heroes celebration, including their annual commemoration of community leaders with their Hall of Heroes program. Trident United Way is so grateful to have been the nonprofit beneficiary of their celebration for the last 2 years. Beyond their support of Trident United Way, Tanger does a lot of other community-focused work. Their understanding of the role they play in the community and the thought and care they put into their actions is commendable. Specifically, we would like to recognize the work of Jamie Wilson, their general manager, and Andrea Gervasi. Did I get it close?
Andrea Gervasio, but you got very close.
How about not? How about not close, but thank you for your grace. Their marketing director, who were both extremely thoughtful and dedicated their organization's community service. Jamie Wilson will be accepting on behalf of her organization. Jamie, thank you so much for all that you do, as well as the Tanger team in our community.
Thank you so much to the Trident United Way family. We, as an organization, are only able to make our impact because we have all of our nonprofit partners in the community to guide us and tell us where we are needed. And our goal is at any given time to jump when they say jump and go where they need us to be. So this is truly an honor to be in this room with all of you. It's impactful and inspiring. And I'm sure we're going to go back today and talk about what we want to do in the next year of volunteering that we have ahead. We try to be out in the community every single month, making a true impact, and it's because of all of you in the nonprofit sector that we can do that. So thank you. We really try to be a living, breathing part of our community where people can gather, where they can feel free to be who they are, and when we as a team are able to make that impact because of you. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Trident United Way.
Our final award this afternoon is the Changemaker Heart of the Community Award. This award is given to a nonprofit organization that exemplifies what it means to be a change maker in the community and goes above and beyond for those served. This organization also demonstrates active leadership and collaboration to make a positive and lasting impact on the community. This year's Changemaker Heart of the Community Award goes to Charleston Pro Bono Legal Services. Charleston Pro Bono Legal Services' mission is to serve the vital legal needs of those in our community experiencing financial instability. They seek to empower people by providing aid, representation, and an array of legal services that grant access to the protections and benefits of our legal system. Their team puts intentional focus into collaborating with nonprofit organizations across our community to provide wraparound support to their clients and to our broader community. Most critically, Charleston Pro Bono Legal Services sees Alice and supports Alice. They have a deep, open-minded, and evolving understanding of need in our community, and they use their resources to offer support where it is most needed. Our Tri-County is stronger for the work they do, and we are so happy to recognize their compassion, dedication, and hard work here today. Alyssa Lietzo, Executive Director, will be accepting on behalf of her organization. Next year, we're going to have some Smiths. Congratulations, Alyssa, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. On behalf of our board of directors, our incredible team, and our volunteers, I thank Trident United Way for this award. We have a team of dedicated public servants who show up every day ready and willing to advocate on behalf of those who are otherwise effectively shut out of our justice system. Whether it is our family law team who's assisting with custody, visitation, child support, adoption, or our housing team who, as we speak, are in court right now fighting against wrongful evictions and ensuring that we have safe and habitable housing for our community members. Our team does not do this for recognition, but I can promise you that when I go back today and I show them this, they will understand that not only is their work and their effort and their passion is being recognized, it's appreciated. What we've been able to do over the past several years is enhance because of the partnerships that we have created, one of the most important being with Trident United Way. The support of Trident United Way has come in many fashions. They have provided us with grant funding, whether it is with basic needs, capacity building, or Changemaker grants. They have also allowed us to attend safety net meetings, where we are getting an opportunity to meet with several other nonprofit partners in this community, so that when we do make those referrals, they are meaningful and accurate. And also, I would be remiss if I did not give a special shout out to Debbie Mann and Kathy Easley, who, after attending several poverty simulations myself, either as an attendee or a volunteer service, took my suggestion to incorporate legal services into the simulation and said, let's do it. So we are a proud partner of Trident United Way, have been for many years, and remain committed to being that partner for many years to come. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Incredible awards, and thank you all to our award winners. Thank you all to our panelists, and thank you to all for being here today. As we close out, I'd like to ask you to reflect on these remarks that you've heard here, each of our panelists have made, and think about one way you can begin or to increase your support of our friends and all of our neighbors. You can visit tuw.org, tuw.org, to learn more about Alice families and get a link to the detailed Alice report and interactive tools. There's also an updated copy of the Alice Spotlight on Children report at your seats. The TUW website is also a great resource for local volunteer opportunities. You can make a donation there as well as if you would like. And most importantly, I want to just make sure we leave on this note. If you are an Alice family or you know someone who is, Trident United Way and tuw.org has resources that can offer support, or you can call our 211 helpline, which provides information about the referral to Health and Human Service resources across our entire Tri-County area. That service is 24/7, 365 days a year. It's free, it's confidential, and it can link you up to what you need. And I thank you again. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. United is the way.